through the barriers. Bust through the barriers. Speak to the barriers. The barriers have to lay down. Mhm.
Well, blessings, everybody. This is Apostle Crystal Lee. We're glad to be here with you this morning. We had a bit of necessity to exercise our spiritual acumen this morning. That's a beautiful thing. Every time those things happen, it gives us an opportunity to show where the power lies, who's the most powerful. I believe it was Geraldine. Who was that back in the day when I was a little child? It was some show. I think Flip Wilson was on the show, and he would say this phrase, "Stand up, let's see who the biggest," right? That's what I was thinking of when I was processing through that situation. Stand up, let's see who the biggest. You know what I'm saying? Because our God is bigger, our God is greater in us than he that is in the world. And so we just have to forge forward. Listen, the word says that the weapon may form, but it will not prosper. And so we have to remember that it will
Amen.
form. You know, it's going to form. It's supposed to form, because if it doesn't form, how will you know that you have the victory over it? You would never know that. And so I don't really get bent out of shape and get all uptight about it when the weapon forms, because I already know it's not going to prosper. So I just keep it moving. As you see, we did a little bit of changing on the screen this morning. The Father was talking to me about the new thing. And so one of the things that I think is so important in this season is that we understand when we're needing to shift and when we're needing to change. And so the Father has been dealing with the sons about this mandate of the mouth. Yeah, there is a mandate. So he said this morning, he said, I want the sons to understand divine recitation and heavenly decrees and testimonies. And this is a long conversation, but I'm going to do my best. We'll probably have to do this in 2 parts, but I'm going to do my best to get this to you today. This is day 21 of prayer and day 16 of the fast. And so I'm excited about this time. I just believe that the Father is shifting us. And I believe that many of you also are sensing that same shift and understanding and identifying. I'm not going to have to tell you what you need to do next. I'm not going to have to tell you, but I will tell you this. I believe the Father is calling some of you into a deeper consecration, into a deeper place. And so you're going to need to be able to hear that. Don't worry about, what I'm saying on this end. Don't worry about that. Don't tie yourself up with, oh, she only said I had to do. Don't do that, because you're going to mess yourself up, okay? Don't tie yourself up with what the Father started on, because whatever he gives us, he always gives it to us in seed form. Remember, we were talking about the seed is the word, but when it's in seed form, that means it has another process to get to another level. This is why we go from faith to faith and glory to glory, because when we get something, it's in that seed form. And the responsibility of sons is to allow that seed to penetrate, to go under, to sink into that heart, and allow the seed of the word to begin to germinate and allow the roots to get down in the heart, and then to begin to come up and bring forth, to begin to manifest and to begin to flourish. And this is the place that we are in. The seed will be given to you. Now, what you do with the seed, listen, what you do with the seed is up to you. What you do with the seed is not up to me. I'm only handing you the seeds, even as the good man handed his servants the seeds. I'm only handing you the seeds. And now you've got to go and you've got to begin to know how to identify the field. You've got to know how to survey the field and make sure that that field is tilled. Make sure that it's ready to receive the seed, so that the land is not only nourished as it should be. You know, maybe sometimes you got to plant something else. I know as a farmer, there are times that you have to plant something else in that field in order to bring the nourishment back to the field. See, a lot of times what people are experiencing when they're not experiencing the overflow that they want, or they're not experiencing the manifestation that they want, is a lack of tilled ground. The ground is not tilled enough to receive the seed that you're hoping to flourish in. And so you've seen it, but now you need to actualize it. But you'll first have to realize that the ground needs to be tilled first. So that might mean that you have to plant some other things. And this is the purpose of the word of Yah, because the word of Yah is a seed. And as that word is planted in us, then that thing begins to bring forth, it begins to nourish the soil of our hearts. So that when we are hearing the word of Yah, we can distinguish between his word and another word. Because understand, the word that is another word sounds similar to the word of Yah. It's not like there's much difference in the conversation. You'd have to identify by the Spirit in order to really identify the words. And that's the scariest part about the age that we live in. That's the scariest part for many people about what is happening in this age, because a lot of people are not able to differentiate between righteousness and wickedness. It's because they're not being taught what that looks like. Remember, we were saying the other day, as we were in Yom Teruah, the Father gave me this word. He said, if we are in this space with the Father, you know, we want to know what it looked like to have obeyed the word of Yah on this matter. And I feel the Holy Spirit rising even as I'm saying it. We want to be able to see the word in action. We want to be able to see this word in its manifested state. The fact that we came and we obeyed, the fact that we sat here and we deliberated, the fact that we were in his presence. What does this look like? That we have followed those instructions and met him at the appointed time. What does that look like? What's the outcome of that? We want to see the manifestation. And this kind of goes hand in hand with what we've been talking about, believing to see the goodness of Yah in the land of the living. We're not waiting till the other side. We're not waiting until we're reigning for the 1,000 years. No, he desires to do something in this life and in the life to come, eternal life. You understand what I'm saying? This was the promise that he made to his disciples. I want to read something to you as we're opening up. Matter of fact, I got Prophet Marlise here with me this morning. Good morning, Prophet.
Good morning. Good morning.
Absolutely. It's good.
Blessing to be here.
Good to have you with us. Isaiah chapter 8. Can we go there really quickly? Isaiah chapter 8. And I'm going to read through from 10 to 22. We want to open up with this word here because I want something to be sown in your mind, in your heart, the becoming. Absolutely. I want something to be sown into your mind, which is synonymous with the heart. It's the core of who you are. I want something to be sown there so that you can begin to hear this word that the Father has for us today. Isaiah chapter 8. I'm going to put up this first part. What we doing here? All right, let's pull that music back. I don't need that. Okay, it does cut it up. Got to remember how many characters we can use so we don't have to have it all cut up all the time. All right, we don't need the music right now. It says to take counsel together. It says, take counsel together and it shall come to naught. He's talking about the wicked. Speak the word and it shall not stand. For Yah is with us. For Yah spake thus to me with a strong hand. And, let me go back here. Here we go. and instructed me that I should not walk in the way of this people, saying, say ye not a confederacy to all them to whom this people shall say a confederacy. Neither fear ye their fear, nor be afraid. Now, what is he talking about here? Let me see. Let me pull this together here so I can have it all in one so you can see. And instructed me, I should not walk. There we go. All right. I'm going to put this up for you so you can see it. All right. So this is the prophet Isaiah having a conversation, and he's speaking about not being in league with the wicked. Okay. He's talking about that the people, and these are the people whom are called by the Father's name, by the way, that he's speaking of. He said that I should not walk in the way of this people, saying, say ye not a confederacy to all them to whom this people shall say a confederacy. Neither fear ye their fear, nor be afraid. What is he talking about? It's the same thing in this age. Another word could be conspiracy. It's saying don't be overtaken by the conspiracy, because in the conspiracy, this confederacy means something that you're in alignment with, something that you're in league with. And we were talking about that when we were talking about the mark of the beast, which we'll talk about some more throughout this 111 days. I think that it's so necessary that we have clarity, and as the Father is unfolding that we have clarity to what the Father is saying about these matters. Because if you do not have clarity, then you're going to adhere to some things that you should not adhere to. If you don't have clarity, then you're going to believe some things that you should not believe. Okay? So we're going to walk through this thing, and we're going to identify and see what the Father has to say about these things. We're in this divine recitation. What is this about? We're going to keep reading it, and I'm going to bring that to clarity for you. He said that I should not walk in the way of this people, saying, say ye not a confederacy to all them to whom this people shall say a confederacy. Here's the other thing. The people are saying, they're telling Isaiah, don't say that we're in league with them. Don't say that this is a confederacy. Don't call it that. You understand what I'm saying? We're not going to call it that. We don't want to be called what it is. That's one of the main stays of this generation. Everything what it is called something else. We're going to call social anxiety. We're going to say that it is PTSD. We're just going to create all kind of names to say that there's some kind of demonic oppression, that there is some kind of demonized position. Because how else would we walk continually in fear and anxiety unless we've been demonized in some way? Something somewhere has a hold. Because if there was no hold, then we would be bold. You understand what I'm saying? Where there is no holding, there is boldness.
Mm-hmm. Amen.
Okay? So if there is a hold and there is no bold, then there is something going on there. He says, sanctify Yah of hosts himself, and let him be your fear. In other words, there may be a lot of things going on in the earth, and the only reason we're sharing these things is so that you're aware of them. These people were not aware of the things that were going on in the earth. Think about the children of Israel. They were not aware that they were in unaware that they were in captivity. They were very aware of their captivity and very aware of that nation's worship, very aware of the things that were coming down the pipeline that were mandates for them to do. They were very aware. He said, but sanctify Yah of hosts himself, and let him be your fear, and let him be your dread. See, a lot of people, one of the reasons why they don't want it to be called a confederacy, one of the reasons why they don't want it to be called what it is, they don't want us to believe that they're in allegiance or in alliance with darkness, is because that doesn't sound good. I mean, it doesn't sound good to know that how you're moving is in alignment or an allegiance to another God. That doesn't sound good. But he said, listen, the reason why they're in allegiance is because they have fear. He said, but you're going to let the Father be that's who you need to fear. The word of the Lord declares that the fear of Yah is the beginning of wisdom. And this is the whole duty of man. I'm giving you scripture to fear Yah and to depart from evil. You hear what I'm saying? It says here, and he shall be for a sanctuary, but for a stone of stumbling and for a rock of offense to both the house of Israel and for the jinn and for a snare to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. He's saying, listen, he's the sanctuary, but he's going to be a stumbling block and a rock for offense to those that are in the house of Israel. In other words, these that are saying, don't say it's a confederacy, don't call it that. Let's call it something else. Let's call my addictions something other than what they are. Let's just say they're trauma. Yeah, they are based in trauma. That's the root of the addiction. But the addiction is the addiction. You understand what I'm saying? It says here in verse 14, I'm going to put it up so you can read it. He said, he shall be for a sanctuary. I think I copied the wrong thing. Let me go back to it. Yep, there we go. It says he shall be for a sanctuary, but for a stone of stumbling. Now this sounds like who the master was when he came, right? The cornerstone, right? The chief cornerstone. Rejected, the stone that was rejected by the builders. Who were the builders? Those that were of the religious and the synagogue and the church industrial complexes, the mosque industrial complex, all of these industrial complexes that are outside of the kingdom's structure. It was a rock of offense to them. The master was rejected. He was the stone that was rejected for these builders to use, even as it was so in Genesis 11, to let us go to and make brick. We're going to make a stone. We're going to make the building materials. We don't want to build with stone, even though that was the thing that was declared that we should build with. We're gonna make brick. This is what they said in Genesis 11, and this is the same reason that the stone that the master was, the chief cornerstone. He was the part. He was that piece. He was that component that was supposed to be the first stone that's laid down. Because if you know anything about construction, the first stone that's laid down is the leveling stone. That stone, everything else has to be built around it. It shows the corner. It shows how the corners need to be. It shows what the height is on every other stone. It shows the level, what everything else should be leveled up as. It doesn't show an imbalance. It's not a slanted stone. It's a tried stone. It's a precious cornerstone. And the builders of that age rejected it, just as they rejected in this age. I'm going to keep reading. And many among them shall stumble. You guys should have gotten there by now. And many among them shall stumble and fall and be broken and be snared and be taken. Oh, my Lord, this is where we are right now. Bind up the testimony, he says. Seal the law among my disciples. Do you hear what the instruction is here for the prophet Isaiah? He's saying there's going to be a lot going on. People are going to be confederate with the things they should not be confederate, in league with the things they should not be in league with. They're going to be in alignment with the things they should not be in alignment with. He said, but what I need you to do, I need you to bind up the testimony. Bind it up. Tie it up. Seal the law among my disciples. Make sure that they understand these things. And I will wait upon Yah that hideth his face from the house of Jacob, and I will look for him. In other words, I know it's a lot going on, but we expect this, just like we're going to believe to see the goodness. I don't care what's going on around us. We're going to believe to see the goodness, because that's what the sons of Yah do, because the testimony is with us. We have seen the work of Yah. We have seen the hand of Yah. We have read even of the hand of Yah and his movement in the earth concerning his sons. And that thing is sealed amongst us. It says here that he said, and I will wait upon Yah that hideth his face from the house of Jacob. He might be hiding from Jacob. He might be hiding from Jacob, but we looking for him because we know he's not hiding from us. It says, behold, I love this. This is one of my favorite. When I tell you, this got to be one of my favorite verses in the Bible. And I know I'm going to say that about every verse, but this right here just does something to my spirit. This is what Isaiah said. Behold, I and the children whom Yah hath given me are for signs and for wonders in Israel, from Yah of hosts, which dwelleth in Mount Zion. In other words, he's going to use us to be a sign and a symbol of who he is, a wonder, something for people to wonder at. This is where we are right now. There is a remnant that is rising. There is a nation that is rising in this hour. There is a people. There are sons of Yah, prophets and apostles and pastors and teachers and evangelists. They are rising right now, are not of the industrial complexes. And they don't care what people think about them. They're not looking to please mankind. They understand that the word that the Father has given them in their mouth is going to be a word that's going to bring great discomfort. It's going to bring great displeasure. But this is what the recitation is about. This is what heaven's decrees are all about. This is what the testimony is about. It's not just about what makes you feel, what makes people in the earth feel good, but it's about what the Father is saying. Now, he's going to always separate his people from this darkness. They're already separated because they are light. They're going to be separated. They're going to be distinctly different from everything else that's going on in the earth. But they are not afraid to declare what the Father is saying. They are not afraid to stand flat-footed and say, this is what the Father is saying. I remember saying this some years ago, especially when the first crown came in, that opposing crown came in 2020, right? And had us all in the house and all of that, right? And I told the leaders, I said, this is the Father's doing. Yes, he's using darkness, of course. So we can, but we only want to see that part because we feel like we're light. So we only want to see that darkness, that this is darkness doing this, right? But what we don't understand is that the Father is authorizing the doings. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. I don't want to go too far ahead of myself, right? He's authorizing something. And so in that authorization, I said to the leadership of America and anybody else that could hear me in that time, whoever the Father was giving me to say that word to, because it went wherever it went. And I told them, I said, y'all need to turn your church buildings into storehouses. I said, if you turn the building into a storehouse, then the Father will be pleased, because what he has demanded, what he has mandated, what he has commanded his people to do will then you'll be then in a position to do it. But if you keep trying to build these structures that you're calling churches, if you keep trying to build those things, he's simply just going to keep knocking them down. I said, you are in contempt. I told them there were indictments that were going out throughout the earth because mankind, in their mind, thinking they were doing the work of Yah, had rebelled against him to make a name for themselves instead of doing what he said from the beginning. Some people heard that. I'm sure they did. Lots of people heard it because lots of people like to watch me in the shadows. So I'm sure they heard it. But yet people were still doing what they were doing. And when the mandate lifted, the Father gave us enough time to reset our minds. And while we were supposed to be resetting our minds, and those that the Father would have in the broadcast space, declaring what he was saying in that moment, instead of clearing the mind and resetting, people got online and were still doing the same manner of foolishness they were doing in the building. Then when the mandate lifted, they went right back to the same thing. Nothing different. And I'm telling you now, he's going to do it again. I'm telling you right now, he's going to do it again. It's going to happen again because the Father is adamant about his body understanding his mandate. He's adamant about his body understanding his law. He's adamant about his body obeying, not just understanding, not just hearing, but doing. I'm going to keep reading. Verse 19 of Isaiah chapter 8. And when they shall say unto you, seek unto them that have familiar spirits. This is what they did. They went right back into that space. And this is what they're declaring to the people. We're going back to what's familiar. See, when people hear familiar spirits, they just think of what we deem as witches. But what the Father deems as witchcraft is rebellion. Hello? He said the sin of
Come
rebellion
on.
is likened unto witchcraft.
Exactly.
This is what he said. So when you think of witches and you only thinking of in your religious mindset, oh, that's the lady with the cap on and she rides the broom and she got the pot and she, brewing something. That's you. If you're in rebellion, that's you. This is what he's saying. And when they shall say unto you, seek unto them that have familiar spirits, and unto wizards that peep, my God, and that mutter. Yeah, listen.
Apostle.
The Holy Ghost on me so strong right now.
Hello.
Because he has not been giving me this great heads up in this season. Like, there are times when he prepares me like mentally for some things, but you got to understand this is 111 days of some talking. 111 days. You know what? I just thought about something. You know what I thought about, Prophet?
What'd you think about?
This 111 days just made me think about the years that Noah spent building the ark. What you have to understand is the age that we're in, what the Father is doing, he's hastening his word to perform it, whether it's in your favor or not. He's hastening his word to perform it. So what would have taken 1,000 years may now take 100. What would take 100 may now take
my
10.
Lord.
And what would take 10 would now take 1. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I just thought about that while I was saying it. It just almost just like ruminated in my mind. Like this is akin to, because I'm saying 111 days. My God, who got that much to say, Father? He said, you do. You do. And the people that's around you. Now, for the record, I have stated that I did not intend to do all 111 days. I'm thinking to myself, surely you're going to send more prophets. Surely you're going to send the people. And as soon as I said the prophet's going to speak, everybody scattered. I said, well, I'll be.
Help Holy Spirit.
Ain't this a trip? Where did the prophets go? So guess what? I got to do what I got to do. We got to do what got to be done. Regardless. And that's one of the things that you got to understand about this time. If you're the only one who's declaring the thing, you can't be moved. You'll hear about Micaiah later, but Micaiah, he didn't give a darn. You hear me? Micaiah said, yep, I hear what everybody's saying, but that ain't what y'all said. First, he kind of went along, but understand sarcasm. I don't think a lot of people understand divine sarcasm. I don't think they do, because the Father is very sarcastic.
Yes, he is.
Very sarcastic. You hear me? Especially when he's dealt with us on any level and he's proven some things to us. And then we still want to kind of do what we want to do and try to act like he's very sarcastic. I've done it to my people. They know me. I'm like, oh, that's what you want to do? Go right ahead. But then years later, here they come. Oh, Apostle, remember when I know what I said. Do you know what I said? Did you hear what I said? Did you understand what I said? Because oftentimes, if it don't feel like what we want to do in the moment, if it don't feel right to us to do in the moment, then we often get tied up in how we feel. And once we get tied up in how we feel, there go the prophets disappearing again. There go the prophets disappearing. See how the prophets do us? You hear what I said? There go the prophets disappearing again.
Technical difficulties.
I know. I do know that. I do know that. But here go the thing. You got to get to the space where you just don't care. And I'm not saying don't care as in, now understand me, because a lot of times people try to use certain things to just not care about people. I'm saying you got to have relationships with people. That's important. You got to learn how to create a relationship, even on the spot. You got to learn how to create relationship and relate to people, right? I'm talking about what the Father has given you to do, not what you think is right, not how you think you should do it, and how you did it in another season. The Father, he might not be calling for that in this season. So maybe the way you learned to win souls before, that was a seed. That was in an immature state. You got to understand, that ain't it. Because we're thinking, because we're going and we're beating people over the head with a Bible or throwing tracts around and asking people, do they know Jesus, that's supposed to win a soul. That if we get somebody to pray, then we want a soul. No, you did not. How do you win somebody's mind, will, and emotions? Hello?
You have to
Mind,
cultivate that thing.
will, and emotions. It's not going to happen in one time. It's not. You might have introduced them to something, but I tell you right now, if you got them to a place, you don't know whether you got them to that place based on their emotions alone or whether other things were involved. You understand what I'm saying? So this thing, salvation, is a process. And it takes all of the body doing their work, doing their part. Some are seeding and some are watering.
Have to cultivate.
The Father is the one that brings the increase.
Yes.
And it may not all happen under one roof. But you have to be okay with playing your part. And then you got to be okay with, here we go, knowing when people are not in alignment with the seed that was sown and don't have any intention on being in alignment with that seed because their fruit is showing rottenness, or it's showing that there's something that is plaguing the fruit. It's showing that something has contaminated the root. It's showing dis-ease. So do you leave that fruit with the batch? Do you leave that fruit? Would you dare leave that fruit in the bunch to spoil everything? And we talked about this yesterday, under the guise of false love, appearing like you're loving something, appearing like you're loving someone. We leave the rotten fruit in the bag with the rest of the fruit? God forbid. God forbid. Let's keep reading. He said, the children, I am the children whom you've given me are for signs and for wonders in Israel from the Lord of hosts, which that's Yah of armies. That's the mighty one, the one that fight, the one that'll fight you. Okay. That's not Jehovah Jireh. Hello. He's not acting in that nature when he's Sabaoth. Okay. And when they shall say unto you, seek unto them which have familiar spirits, and unto wizards that peep and that mutter, and this is what people are doing. They're peeping. There's a general frequency that everybody can get to because they're just made in the image and likeness of Yah. You might be able to tap into some things, and then you're just going to be muttering at that point because you don't really know everything that's being said or the reason why it's being said. You don't have the nature of the conversation, so you're just muttering what you think you hear. Should not a people seek unto their God for the living to the dead? To the law and to the testimony, if they speak not according to this word, it is because there is no light in them. I'm just saying what the word says.
My Lord.
And they shall pass through it, hardly be stead and hungry. And it shall come to pass that when they shall say, be hungry, they shall fret themselves and curse their king and their God and look upward, and they shall look unto the earth and behold trouble, trouble and darkness, dimness of anguish, and they shall be driven to darkness. The earth is not even going to pay them no attention. Remember, I kept asking you, have you introduced yourself to the earth? Does creation know you? You know what I'm saying? Why is this important? Because there's going to be a time that you need it. You remember the conversation in Revelation where it talks about the woman with the son who's carrying the son, and she's getting ready to give birth to the son, and the dragon releases and spews from his mouth this river to overtake her, to try to destroy her and the son that she's carrying. But she is able to deliver the son. She goes into hiding, and then there are other children now that the adversary is after. But the word says that the earth swallowed up what the dragon released to
Mm-hmm.
destroy the woman. You need the earth's assistance. Moshe had the earth's assistance when he had to deal with Korah and them, the Korites. They weren't happy enough just being the priest carrying the things. They wanted to be in a higher position. They wanted to keep challenging his position. We all hear from Yah. Sure we do. But I've chosen him though. And I may speak to y'all in visions and dreams, but I speak to this one face to face. So we got to understand the fact that the Father always has somebody that he's chosen, that he speaks with face to face. He might speak to all of us in dreams and visions, but there are some sons, there are some that he's called to the forefront that he speaks to in a different way. And so to challenge that is rebellious and is ignorant, because you're not going to do nothing but cause yourself harm. Because if you cannot receive from the person that the Father has put in position over you or concerning you, then where are you going to receive direction from? Yourself? Where are you going to receive direction from? The false prophets?
Mm.
Who have no light in themselves? Where are you going to receive direction from? The diabolic watchers?
Jesus.
Listen at this. He said they're going to pass through it. They're going to be hungry. And that when they shall say, be hungry, they shall fret themselves and curse their king and their God and look upward. So they're going to have served whatever they wanted to serve, do whatever they want to do, follow the confederacy of all of the diabolic activity in the earth. And then when there's hunger, then they're going to look up. Because the things that you think are beneficial to you are going to fail you. One of the things that was so insightful about the video that we watched the other day with the man that was coming out and he was waving, you know, notice that there were so many lights out. And so we can surmise at the end of the video that the lights out meant people that already died. But he got to see after he came in, because maybe he didn't see all of those people leave, but he got to see this one that he was waving to every day actually die. He got to see his end because he denied what was offered to him. But the guy across the way accepted, and he was doing a thumbs up and he was excited. And, you know, the man came marching in with the needle and the hokey pokey. He was ready to go because all his mind was on his satisfaction, on his belly, on his outward desires. You remember the place that they were showing was a more beautiful place. Well, that's what the enemy does. He shows you something to incite your decision. He shows you something to get you to move the way that he wants you to move so that he can do what he wants to do. Because he needs your energy, your frequency, your vibration. He needs all of that to accomplish what it is he desires to accomplish in the earth. He can't do it without a body. So listen, we spoke yesterday about the necessity and power of words. Keep in mind the phrase from James chapter 3, verse 3. We put bits in the horses' mouths to make them obey. You remember that? Huh. You remember that?
Amen. Yeah.
We put bits in the horses' mouths to make them obey.
Apostle.
So here's the question. Yes, ma'am.
You just said something, and my spirit just resonated with something, and resonated with that key thing you said about the hokey pokey and the man accepting it, and versus the man that didn't.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing is, the perception is that this man that didn't take it, he's still in hell. This other man wanted to come out of hell. Okay. Mm-hmm. And what he saw, what was supposed to be paradise. Mm-hmm. And so he was trying to save his life from the living hell he was in, mm-hmm. not realizing that what he was in is not the reality. What was in his heart and his mind. Because now he didn't go to God for that soundness. He didn't go to God. He went to what man provided as this false hope.
Mm-hmm.
And this false hope had all of these glitz and the glamour. It had the sunshine and the palm trees. And it had all the things
It had a
just
pool.
right for your taking.
It had a pool. That meant you can come outside and you can, you know,
Exactly. So it went against what they were propagating, what they had developed, what they had put in place.
yeah.
It went against it. So why is this one area so unaffected? He didn't use wisdom. All he wanted was to be out of what he thought was hell. We have to be mindful sometimes where we are, and it's not hell bound and it's not hell. But when we try to create or to run to something that is projected, that don't add up, that man has put out, we think that's the safe place. And instead, that's truly the death place.
It's just an image.
It's just an image.
It's an image. I love that you said he didn't he didn't. It's something that you said about he didn't pay attention to he didn't use wisdom. And when
No,
you
he
said
didn't.
that he didn't use wisdom, he used want.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
he
he
didn't
didn't
use it.
look at what they set up. They initially set up this right here. But then they said, oh, yeah, this place here, you can have this.
Yeah,
But
if you do the clinical trials.
listen, but if you
But you
take
gotta
it,
make it through the trial. You
this
gotta
is
make
what you got. And that was another thing. Those warnings, the same
yeah,
warnings we hear on TV now that we didn't hear before everything, it may cause.
yeah.
And
It
then the
said
last one says may even cause death. But we don't hear that. All we hear is, oh, this is
it.
good for this particular something. And our ears turn off to the consequences.
Come on now.
The consequences of accepting what man has developed
See?
that goes against the knowledge of God. He said long life. But if it's telling you it's going to hurt your kidneys, hurt your liver, cause
Come
lungs
on
to
now.
breathing problems, those are things you accepting to go against the knowledge of God. Please be advised.
Please be advised.
They put it out there because they know you're not hearing. Just like Jesus said, you see and don't see. You hear and don't perceive.
Lest you hear and I'd have to deliver you.
There you go.
And that's the promise. That's from one of the prophets that he's quoting at. He said, that's the promise. If you see and if you hear, I'd have to deliver you. But instead, we adhere to the thing that is killing us to save our own lives, to save ourselves. And the thing he said to save yourself from was this untoward generation. He said, save yourself from this untoward generation. That's the only thing you need to be saving yourself from. You don't need to save yourself from diabetes. You need to adhere to what he's saying. He said, if you will hear me and you will see me, uncover your eyes and uncover your ears, and I'll have to deliver you. Because I've said some things concerning you that I will have to do if you can hear it and if you can see it. But if you can't hear it or see it, then you're subject to whatever you get. You're subject. Read the warnings. Anything that's on the label, you're subject to it. Because you're taking it. Right? So he said we put bits in the horses' mouths to make them obey. Here's my question. What's in your mouth? What's in your mouth?
Apostle?
Hmm?
All right. So we have the Proverbs 4:13.
Mm-hmm.
And I quote this quite often because it's a reminder for me, but it's also a reminder for the people. It says in verse 13, it says of chapter 4 of Proverbs, take fast hold to instructions. Let her not go. Keep her, for she is thy life.
Mm-hmm.
Enter not into the path of the wicked, and go not in the way of evil men.
Mhm.
Avoid it, pass not by it, turn from it, and pass away. We have to understand we're not supposed to be in these spaces just because they say it's good. Do you understand? Government has not been righteous. You may have some righteous folks there, but the overall consensus, not righteous.
Not righteous. Facts. Yeah, that's a fact. Hold on, I'm trying to get rid of one of these so I can do what I got to do here. I want to put this at the bottom because I want you to think about this while we're continuing this conversation. I want you to think about this right here. Think about it. Yeah, think about that for a minute, okay?
Yes.
What's in your mouth, okay?
What's in your mouth?
So, here's the thing. What does it look like for us? This having something in our mouth to make us obey. Because there's indeed a mandate concerning the mouth. Here's what the Father said. He said, don't let this book of the law, Joshua, right? Depart from your mouth. Why? Because this should be your meditation both day and night to keep you in the way that I provided for you, in the way that I have ordained for you. That's going to lead you to prosperity. A good and prosperous life is in this way that I'm leading you. The observance of the law is not just for reading and reciting, but for doing. So why do we need to adhere to divine recitation? Because he wants us to remember what he's said. I want to read something here to you. Some positions. And you listen and tell me if they are recitations of the righteous or the wicked. I'm just going to put some things out there. Here's the first one. Psalm 91:2. I will say of Yah, he is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in him will I trust. Where's that coming from? What is that? Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat, whether righteous or wicked. What kind of, is that divine or diabolic? Let's use those terms. Is that a divine recitation or diabolic? Just put divine or diabolic. That's the first one. Is it divine or diabolic? I'm going to spell diabolic for y'all. There we go. That is divine. That is a divine place. All right, let's look at the next one. Luke chapter 12, verse 19. And I will say to my soul, soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease and be merry. Divine or diabolic? I will say unto my soul, there it is right there. Soul, thou hast much goods laid up for many years. Take thine ease, eat, drink, and be merry. Divine or diabolic? There's a point to this. Come on, give it to me. There you go. Diabolic. Oh, it's only one person in this room? I see 3 people in this room. Second Corinthians chapter 12, verse 6. For though I would desire to glory, I shall not be a fool, for I will say the truth. But now I forbear, lest any man should think of me above that which he seeth me to be, or that he heareth of me. This is Paul talking. Or that he heareth of me. Divine or diabolic. He said, for I would desire to glory, but I ain't no fool. I will say the truth. I forbear on that other thing, lest any man should think of me that which he seeth me to be, or that which he heareth of me, divine or diabolic. Sound like Paul keeping himself in check. Like, I have a reason that I could be a little puffed up. I know some stuff, right? But I'm still reachable. Okay? I'm still reachable. I'm not exalting myself. Here's another one. Genesis chapter 14, verse 23. That I will not take from a thread even to a shoe latchet, and that I will not take anything that is thine, lest thou shouldest, oh, you already know, lest thou shouldest say, I have made Abraham rich. Lest thou shouldest say, I have made Abraham rich. I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to wait on y'all this time. Deuteronomy 17:14. When thou art come unto the land which Yah thy God giveth thee, and shall possess it, and shall dwell therein, and shall say, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me. Deuteronomy 17:14. The B part. I will set a king over me. Genesis 14:23. Nope. Hear it again, prophet. This is the end of that. I will set a king over me, like as all the other nations that are about me or around me. The saying is, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are around me. Psalm 27. Are y'all still with me? There you go. Diabolic. Psalm 27:6. Y'all listening? Psalm 27:6. Now, there you go. Now, I know that Yah saves his anointed. He answers him from his holy heaven with the saving power of his right hand. There's a reason why we got to go through this. Then he says, some trust in chariots and others in horses, but we will trust in the name of Yah our God. There you go. They collapse and fall, but we rise up and stand firm. That was the word of the Lord. That is divine. Now, why am I asking you these questions? Because we've got to be mindful of our recitation. Because there are some things that could sound like one thing, but they could actually be another. And so we've got to pay attention to what's being said so we can understand the sound or the frequency of it. Because ignorantly, the religious masses have been trained in the belief that when we view darkness or diabolic nature acting out, that this is an unwarranted, illegal act. But what this delusion proliferates is the ignorance that all of creation is for divine hire in order to accomplish the word of Yah. A lot of people don't understand that darkness is for divine hire. So let me read you something. Joel chapter 2, verse 25. Let me read you that. You ready for it? It says, I will restore. It says that in the King James, but I'm reading it in the Berean. I will repay you for the years eaten by locusts, the swarming locust, the young locust, the destroying locust, and the devouring locust, my great army that I sent against you. Did you hear that? Who sent the army? Who sent the army? Y'all said, I sent it. I did that. Yep, it was me. Look at Joel chapter 2. Yeah, we're not on that no more, sister. I got you, though. That is divine. But now I'm talking about the fact that the ignorant masses religiously, because they're entrained that way, believe that when you hear anything that's dark, we automatically go to the adversary. But what we don't understand is that darkness is often a trainer for light to become what it's supposed to be. It's just in the place till light shows up. And that's a matter of time. Okay? That's a matter of time, because light's going to show up. There may be darkness outside right now, but it's only a matter of time before light shows up, because it's produced that way. It's created that way. Joel chapter 2 verse 2 says, a day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds and blackness. Like the dawn overspreading the mountains, a great and strong army appears, such as never was of old, nor will ever be in the ages to come. He said, listen, I did this. Joel 2:11 says, Yah raises his voice in the presence of his army. This was the devouring army? Yes. Indeed, his camp is very large, for mighty are those who obey his command. Ooh, that just opened up something, didn't it? Did that open up something for you? He said, mighty are those who obey his command. I'm going to put that on the screen for you. That's Joel 2 in the B part, because there's a C part to that. He said, mighty are those who obey his command. So the only strength that you have is in your obedience. You don't have strength just in your knowledge. You don't have strength in your degrees. You don't have strength in your gifts. You don't have strength in your talents. You have strength in your obedience to his command. Here it says at the end of that, for the day of Yah is great and very dreadful. Who can endure it? Who can endure it? It was that way then, and it's that way now. It was that way in many different generations, and it's that way now. It was that way in Noah's day. Who could endure the dread of Yah? That dreadful day. Who could endure it? Who survived it? But those that were on the boat, those that were on the ark. Malachi 3:11. He said, I will, the people love to use this for money collecting, right? Okay. But that's not what this is about necessarily. However, people use it, misuse it, abuse it, massage it to get what they want out of people. But here's what he said. I will rebuke the devourer for you, so that it will not destroy the fruits of your land, and the vine in your field will not fail to produce fruit, says Yah of hosts. He is the God of the hosts that are being sent. And he's the one that can rebuke the devouring, because we obey.
Amen. Come on.
If you don't obey, a devourer is going to come. And if the devourer comes, the only person that's going to be able to rebuke him is me. Go ahead, prophet.
Oh, no, I was in agreement. I was saying, yes, come on.
Amen. The one that's going to be able to
Amen.
rebuke him is the Father. Now, how you handle him is resisting him. Right? But he can rebuke the devourer for your sake. Now, in the New Testament, we've been reassigned our authority. Our first authority is in resisting him, because then we don't have to rebuke him. And we're dealing with ourselves right now. Okay? If we resist him, he'll flee. But if we accept him, then later on we'll have to rebuke him. Look at what happened with Abraham. He birthed the counterfeit, and later on he had to rebuke the counterfeit. He didn't resist the idea of trying to help the Father in this manner to bring forth the son that would be the one that would receive the inheritance. He and Sarah conspired together to do this thing. They weren't trying to be wicked. They were just trying to get it done. You heard what I said. They weren't trying to be wicked. This doesn't have nothing to do with, oh, Abraham was looking at her anyway. This doesn't have nothing to do with, oh, he didn't deny her. No, he was trying to make happen what the Father had spoken to him. He didn't believe it was going to come out of his wife's womb because she was too old to bear. Hagar was young enough to bear. Hell, he was already too old. He was like, okay, so if it's going to come out of my loins, then I'm not even thinking it's going to come out of Sarah's womb, because I'm already old. So it's got, if he's going to make me virile again, then it's going to have to be virile for somebody that can receive the seed.
And Sarah thought the same thing.
Right. This is what they were thinking. They weren't trying to be wicked. They didn't understand that they didn't keep asking. I say this all the time. It's the what's next, y'all paradigm. They didn't keep asking him what's next. Okay, now what do we do? But he had to rebuke what he didn't reject or resist in another season. So we just dealing with ourselves now. Okay? He thought he could help the promise. Can't help the promise. Here's the truth about this season that we're in. The Father is saying, listen, I need to put my sons in a position where they understand my rest. And when I say rest, I don't just mean sleep. I'm not dealing with just sleep. Of course, we're going to need our rest. I'm dealing with understanding that he doesn't need our assistance to do the thing that he is declaring is going to be done. All he needs is our agreement to get it done. And then when we agree, we've got to move according to his measure, move according to his instruction in order to walk out what he's done. It's not hard work. We're not going to need to wield some kind of sword and just go in with bombs and all of this. The thing that we are up under right now, the things that we are in captivity to right now, many people don't even realize they're in captivity because we don't have chains on, because we don't have yokes on, because all those things are not on us. A lot of people don't know that they're in chain. And this is why they don't adhere to come out of her, my people. They don't adhere to that because they don't know that yokes and bondages and chains is where they are on many different levels. But the Father has declared, listen, I'm going to bring my people out. I'm going to bring my people out of captivity. All I need them to do is agree with my heavenly decrees. Agree with the testimony of the saints before them. Agree with the testimonies that you have already come out of things. You've already seen his hand. You've already seen him do it. That's where Islam came from. That's why we can't be in agreement with that. We can't be in agreement with the spokespersons for it. Care how well they speak. Anytime we are adhering to that, or we're sitting under that in awe or in amazement of that, then we're connecting ourselves to something. I was thinking about a sister of mine the other day, and well, I call her my sister. I love her. We were closer in another season than we are now, but she had some issues, right? She had some physical issues. And the Holy Spirit brought to my mind something that had just taken place right before that turning of events. Now, she already had some things that had already taken place, and then she had kind of come through that. But then I saw herself become an honorary sorority sister. And I thought to myself, oh my God. Like, these people are really out here in these streets thinking this stuff is cool. You know why? Because it provides benefits. And so what do? We take the benefit, right? I'm not going to knowingly subscribe to something like that. Now, there are things and places where the Father will allow us because he's saying, listen, you're in captivity. And guess what? In captivity, you're subject to some things. But I'm not going to willingly sign up to bow to another deity. I'm not going to willingly sign up to make allegiance to another God. But I can promise you, as the Holy Spirit brought it to my attention this morning or yesterday, early in the morning, I said, wow. I said, now, Father, what am I supposed to do with this? Do you want me to say this to her, or do you want me to pray for her? Because listen, I don't care which one. It's okay either way. You understand? But you got to ask those questions. Because just because he revealed it to you doesn't mean he wants you to say anything to the person. Sometimes people get it twisted and think because revelation came, then announcement must come next. Not necessarily. Here's the question. What's in your mouth? Because what's in your mouth and what are you obedient to? Because what's in your mouth is what you're obeying. Some bit is in your mouth and it's causing you to follow it. Causing you to follow the directions of it. Okay? So we see this. I'm gonna explain the divine hire a little bit further. Because when you look at Job, you see him saying a statement, have you considered my servant Job? What did he do? He hired the adversary to purify Job. You say, well, it wasn't purification. Yeah, it was purification because that pressure purified him. That pressure brought him out of that fear. That pressure brought him out of that space where he's doing things under the impression of it being a cure-all, because he's sacrificing for these children, because I don't even know what they're doing. He's not sacrificing for sin and he know they did. He's sacrificing and don't even know what they did. And he's in fear. But the pressure of this adversary that tried him pressed him into perfection again. David said it like this: it was good that I was afflicted, that I might learn your statutes. You don't understand? Affliction is good. This is why he put us in this place, in this fasted place, because the affliction is good. I had somebody I love call me and say, I'm so thankful for this thing that you're doing. I'm thankful for what you're doing right now, for what you're calling for and what you're saying the Father is giving you, because I feel things breaking off of me that I've been dealing with since I was a child. I've been dealing with this specific thing, has been kind of running me, kind of been the bit in my mouth, so to speak. This has been the bit in that person's mouth, leading them. And because of them understanding this thing can break, I just need to reposition myself. You hear what I'm saying? All I need to do is reposition myself. So Job had to be repositioned. Look at Joseph. Same thing. In order to get to where he was going, he had to undergo the things he had to undergo, because it kept him humble. Look at David. Look at David. He on the run. He's anointed king, but he ain't made it to the throne. He's running. Why? Because he had a responsibility on the run. Guess what he was doing on the run? He was building an army. He was building an army on the run in the cave of Adullam. The mighty men were being raised. Hello?
Come on.
Even what you think about the first Adam, I want you to think about this. Because was not the training course that of understanding through conversation? So the Father's walking with him in the cool of the day, talking to him, giving him understanding, taking him into spaces and saying, what did I call this? And Adam saying, yeah, and that's it. That's exactly what it is. Okay, good. And let's move you on to the next point of training, right? And then walking in his ways. The Father giving him a way. Listen, dress and keep the garden. Dress it, protect it, and keep it. Cover it. But he failed. Why? Because he failed in that place of testing. That adversary that came into that garden was the test. It was the testing thing. It was the proving thing. See the second Adam's course. Being trained in Torah, then following the pattern, finally sees himself in the scripture, realizes who he is. He's baptized, filled with the Holy Ghost, who then leads him into the wilderness, a place of temptation. The second Adam passed what the first one did not. So we were talking about pay yesterday, and that deals with the expression of pneumatic strength of man. The breath of Abba's energy, or his essence, is what he breathed into the form of the man, the shape that he created. And this is what made the being, made the man become enlivened. So the mouth is related to many divine formulaic equations, as I said yesterday, of which the sum of them, the breath, the work of the words, and the taste buds or the appetites are created. So we've got to guard it. We've got to make sure that our recitation is divine. Why? Because if we're creating anything else, then that means we're in allegiance with something else. Speaking of one of the many facets of the purpose of the mouth being that of the appetite, the spiritual taste buds, this is what gets us to that place of recitation, because we have a taste for something. You know, when the enemy gives us a taste of something, if your taste buds have not been tempered, which bitters deal with the taste buds. We're going to go a little over today. We'll probably go to 122. Bitters deal with the taste buds. That was a warning for you. Time warning. 122 is where we're going. So if bitters deal with the taste buds, and the taste is what gets us to keep repeating something, because recitation deals with an action of repeating something, right? Of course, it's talking about something audible, but it's a repetitive thing. Okay? So look at this. Let me share a couple of things with you this morning before we get off. When the Spirit of Yah declared to me the term divine recitation, of course, I asked for clarity. And this was the wisdom of that phrase as it was given to me. He said, divine recitation is the action of repeating aloud from memory, from remembrance, the godlike conversation. So from memory, repeating audibly, loudly, like God's, the Father's conversation. So do we understand the power of his conversation? Because worlds were spoken and created. All things are being held together by the power of those words. And this word is an accomplishing word. So understand that. When he sends out a word, he intends to accomplish it. Whether you die in the wilderness or not, he's going to follow it throughout the generations. He's going to find somebody that's going to follow the rules. Somebody that's going to accept his command. Somebody that's going to accept the instruction to fulfill the promise. This is why many of you feel like you're under such a weight, because the weight is that people before you did not follow. And so now you are tasked with the responsibility of finishing because they refused to follow. You remember Terah was told he was going to be taken to a promised place, but he denied it and he died in Haran, being an idol maker, chief idol maker for the rebellious kingdom. Okay? Being a chief idol maker for the rebellious kingdom. He got stuck. And Abraham had to finish the course. Abraham had to finish it. Y'all keep me mindful of the time. I'm going, on the clock here is 1:11. Marlise, do you see the clock from your view?
I see the clock on my view, and I was actually typing to let you know it's 6:22.
No, I know it's 6:22 on that clock, but we didn't get started today, so it's only 1:11.
Okay, it's 1:11, yeah, and 52 counting. We good.
Okay, so I just want to make sure you can see that clock. Okay. So understanding the power of his words is important because it's a reality that it tastes good in the mouth. There's the truth of the word. The word of Yah tastes good in the mouth. All right. But when it hits the belly, when it's actually time to digest what he's spoken, many shrink back.
My Lord, yep.
Remember I told you that I'm asking you, and it's across the bottom of the screen, what's in your mouth? Because that's what you're going to obey. What's in your mouth is what you behold to. What's in your mouth is what you're going to follow. This is why he said, no man having put his hands to the plow and drawn back is fit. The conversation of the Father at all times is meant to provoke us to accomplish his work. If you look at Jeremiah, he's given a task. It's provoking him to the work. Now, he said in the beginning, listen, I'm only a child. He said, don't say that no more. Look, he said, don't recite that. Don't recite that I'm a child. No, because I called you before you were even formed. So you have to understand that I had a purpose for you in mind, and that's why you're here. That's why you were formed. That's why you were in the womb. That's why you were birthed out, because this was your purpose. This was your assignment. Okay? I got some things here. Let me see if I can get to them before it's too late.
You know, Apostle, that's the same thing when people say, oh, I'm just a babe. I'm a babe in Christ. And they've been saying that for 2, 5, 10, 20 years. And they haven't grown past being a babe. The same thing as with society. Everybody want to stay young, but they don't want no age. They don't want no wisdom.
My Lord.
But they do want to have the knowledge, but don't want no wisdom.
Yeah.
And they don't want to implement, because being a child or babe, most people don't teach their children to start working or to do. So it's even that. I don't need to implement. I don't know how to do. I'm still a babe. Because that means I will never be able to be assigned a responsibility.
Listen, I saw a video yesterday In the video yesterday, this man, I think he was from one of the Arab countries, and he said, you guys are training your children to be children.
Yes.
You're not training them to be adults. You're training them to be children. You're trying to keep them children as long as you can keep them children. And that's ignorant, because the crazy thing about that is not only are you teaching them how to be childish or children, you're teaching them how to be childish. And here's the thing. You got 3-year-olds twerking. You're not only teaching them to be children, but you're over-sexualizing them before the time. So now they're childish and they're sexualized. And they don't have any responsibility. Jeremiah said, stand at the gate, in chapter 7, stand at the gate of Yah's house and proclaim there this word and say, hear the word of Yah, all ye of Yehuda, which is where that word Jew comes from. But we talked about that before, and I'm going to keep saying it because I want the saints, the people that call themselves saints of the Most High Yah, to stop following behind the traditions of the Jews. Everything they say, people holding on to it. That's how we got to this whole Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Teruah are not the same thing. But just like Jeroboam, who created 2 golden calves to keep the people away from going to the they're supposed to go to, just like these Pharisees whom the master chided and said, you keeping them out of the kingdom. You haven't entered in, and you keeping them from entering in. Ergo, we think, oh, because they have been, these are the people. They are not the people. The Hebrews were the people. You don't need to take something out of something to call it something else if it is that thing. Hello? But you're following all these traditions, all these ideas, using all the emblems and the amulets. And the Father saying, come out of her. Hey, brother, good morning. Come out. Why are you in there? This is the same thing that he allowed the prophet. He said, dig through the wall and see what they do in the dark. See what they do.
Come on.
We got stuff like the time of Lent. That usually happens around Passover. That's a celebration that they're making themselves humble for Tammuz. That ain't got nothing to do with the Father. These people are crying out to Tammuz. And y'all thinking this is a thing. Oh, well, it's Lent. I'm on my Lent fast. Ignorant.
My God.
And for what? Because you adhered to something that somebody said.
Teach apostle.
You thought had more. They had more than you had. Because they are the people. They are not the people. That's why the word says they say they are Jews and are not.
Apostle.
Yes, ma'am.
That's the same when we read Esther and people miss it.
Absolutely.
They became Jews.
Thank you. That's one of the places where that began.
They miss it every time.
In the captivity is where all of these things begin. The using those Elul, using all of that. That's where that started, because the Father doesn't communicate like that. The same thing we deal with in the Gregorian calendar, Monday, Tuesday. All of these are days to gods. They're named. They're named the names of gods.
Come on.
So it's no different. This is a Babylonian concept. And it's what they did in Babylon. So here we go. Oh, they the people. Not they the people if they taken out of Yehuda, because the word Judah is where the word Jew comes from. But J was not in the language. So they're banking on your ignorance. Because they don't call themselves Jews, do they? Do they call themselves Jews? They do not. They call themselves Jews. But the letter J was not in the language. It was a Y. So why don't they call themselves Jewish? Right? Not only are you doing a knockoff of Yehuda, but you are calling yourself something completely different than what they were called. Whew. It's a lot here. I'm going to turn it loose today. But we'll come back tomorrow and we'll finish this conversation. We'll finish this conversation.
Yes, we're 1:20 and 23 seconds.
Yeah. We're going to finish this conversation tomorrow, because if I go any further, I'm going to open up something else. But he said this to Jeremiah in verse 4 or verse 3. He said, thus saith Yah of hosts. And notice he's using the term Yah of hosts. You don't need to use host if you're talking about provision. He's saying the God of armies. Elder said, no, the God of armies. So I'm telling you that this is about war right now. You're dealing with a warrior, the warrior. You're not dealing with the provider right now. He said, thus saith Yah, the warrior, Sabaoth, the God of Israel, amend your ways and your doings, and I will cause you to dwell in this place. Trust ye not in lying words, saying the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord are these. For if ye thoroughly amend your ways and your doings, if you thoroughly execute judgment between a man and his neighbor, if ye oppress not the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, shed not innocent blood in this place, neither walk after other gods to your hurt, then I will cause you to dwell in this place, in the land that I gave to your fathers forever and ever. Behold, ye trust in lying words that cannot profit you. It's the place that the Father's taking the prophets back to, the apostles back to. Standing flat-footed and tell them what you believe in is a lie.
My Lord.
And it's not going to profit you. It's not going to profit you. Listen, we'll come back tomorrow. I love you guys. Body's not a me thing. It is a we thing. And we will come back tomorrow at 5 a.m. to finish divine recitation. Peace to your house.
Shalom. Shalom.